What's up, everyone? Stephen Wang from Carpool Chats, and I'm joined here by Isaiah Leung.
What's up, guys?
We're going to be talking about college basketball with you guys tonight in NBA. First topic, we're going to be talking about that recent Ohio State versus Michigan game. And woo! Ohio State was on fire from three, Isaiah, and they made you eat crow for doubting them. Second topic, Cinderella watch. We're going to be talking about one team from NCAA basketball this year that maybe doesn't get the necessary attention that they need, that could pull a major upset and deep run into the tournament. And then we're going to be giving you guys our first round predictions in the NBA playoffs, currently as how things are seeded. So, Isaiah, are you ready for a wild ride?
You know what? Yes I am, man. I can't wait. He forgot to mention that we have a very, very special guest. Ryan Schriner from The Ohio State University is going to join us once again. He was on episode 22 last week. He's coming back this week, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. You ready to call Ryan up?
Yeah, man, but let's give a shout out to our backstage audience real quick. VIP access. My boy Kevin Bretto from Michigan San Jose High School, class of 2009, and my boy Anthony Rebejo, class of 2014. Let's ring them up.
Let's go.
All right, let's get Ryan Schriner on the phone. What's up, Ryan? How's everything going?
Oh, everything's going great on my end. How about you guys?
Better than I deserve.
Going great. How about you?
I mean, I'm just excited to get started and hear just how wrong Isaiah was.
Oh, I'm not. I'm not
State
excited at all
Michigan
about
game.
this episode.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah,
excited.
I mean, this Ohio State-Michigan game, let me start off by just saying, this one really came down to the three-point shooting. And at the end of the day, it is a make-or-miss league. In any league of basketball, any capacity you play in any league, sometimes, some nights, you just got the it factor. You just have the hot streak. Ohio State had it here. But, you know, more importantly, I think it was just the way they controlled the game. And before they caught fire, close throughout, so that they didn't need to, you know, exert so much effort to pull away from Michigan. They had enough in the reserves so that when they caught fire, they just straight up ended the game right then and there. A couple of bank threes, but you know what? It's going to happen. It's part of the game.
But yeah, my main takeaway from this game was Ohio State is playing its best basketball towards the end of the season when you want to be playing your best basketball. And more so than that, you just have to love how balanced of a team Ohio State has become late in the season. I mean, all their starters had at least 10 points, with 4 of the 5 having 14. Like, that's just a balanced scoring attack that's hard to stop. And that's contrast to Michigan, who I feel rely a little too much on Simpson to carry the team. Outside of him and Wagner, I don't see that constant, consistent performer that can really like guide a team if those two are having an off night.
Yeah.
So they're a little top heavy with their talent. Meanwhile, Ohio State can rely on different guys night in and night out. And also, you have to love how Walker and Washington Jr. are really
I was
settling
just about
into
to bring
their
that one
roles
up. I was just
late
about
into
to
the
bring that up.
season.
Yeah, I think this one...
Walker.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, all right. But yeah, Walker had an amazing game. Really become the playmaker, do-it-all type player that he really had the potential to be all along, with the 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 15 points. And Washington has come out, played some hard-nosed defense, gotten 6 rebounds this game, and has just become one of the primary outside scorers, which Ohio State really lacked in its really bad run earlier this season. They were missing that constant outside scoring threat, and Washington Jr., the freshman, has really taken on that role later in the season. My only concern about Ohio State is that Walker, Muhammad, and Washington Jr. are really the only guards on this team that Holtman feels comfortable playing. So I don't know the status of Tartan, But if we could get him back for the tournament run, that would be a huge boost to Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this one it really came down to the fact that Ohio State's offense for the first time had some decisiveness outside of the Wesson brothers. Usually you have Caleb and Andre Wesson really leading the charge. I thought Dwayne Washington and PJ Walker were just so instrumental in the sense that they really took over that game at the end. Dwayne Washington at one point I think was 5 of 6 from the three-point arc, and then Walker had those 2 key jumpers. First he had the one where he created space, kind of hit in defender's face. Then he had the turnaround fadeaway jumper. It was just absolutely beautiful. They got the points when they needed them, and they helped put that game away. I think moving forward, if Ohio State can have that same decisiveness and be willing to isolate the ball a little in crucial situations, it'll, really catapult their chances in March Madness.
Yes, but at the same time, this roster is living or dying by those 5 starters. Outside of those 5 starters, only Lindell and Aarons got any minutes, and both of them had less than 20. This team doesn't have a lot of depth outside its starting lineup, and that could be a huge issue if one of our starters gets like a small injury or a little nagging injury. So that's my only concern right now, is that the depth outside of the starters is a little lacking. And I understand that once you get to the big time games, you get to these shorter rotations, but it hurts to have that shorter rotation, not by choice, but by pure circumstance. Like, there's not like a 8th guy you have the option to bring off the bench. Right now, there's just no guy right now that Holtman feels comfortable with.
Yeah,
which
that's certainly a concern.
Is a little concerning.
Yeah, definitely concerned. As you mentioned before, I think the shorter rotation as you get deeper into the NCAA season, especially the tournaments, will kind of help dictate that for Ohio State. But I think on top of that, it's just that when you're in the kind of round of 64, round of 32 area, depth is not going to be that important just yet because you got the 1 game elimination. So we're not talking about where you have, 3 or 4 chances to get beat. You have a good game or you don't have one, and that means that the rotations are generally going to be smaller, and the amount of impact injuries can have is going to be more limited, because like if I get injured, say like late in the game, I mean, that's the only game I'm going to play, right? It's like I either win the game or I don't. So I understand your concerns, but I want to move on to Isaiah because we got some, opinions from the Buckeyes about Ohio State's big win against Michigan. But how about the Juwan Johnson, Jim Harbaugh, Michigan fan himself? How does it feel to eat up another and yet another Ohio State loss and a season sweep?
First of all, I wish I had a bottle of beer before this episode. Ryan totally knows how I'm feeling. I called him up before the show and I told him, dude, I am dreading this show, man. I don't even want to go on. I was literally on my knees begging Steven. I was like, please forgive me, man. I don't want to go on and have to eat crow live. But listen, I don't really follow college basketball until March Madness. So my thinking coming into this game was, a lot of people have been telling me that, yeah, Michigan is a way better basketball team than Ohio State. So that's why I was talking so much crap, because I was like, Michigan, they were really good at the beginning of the season, and then they had a bump in the road, and then they bounced back really nicely. They've been playing really good basketball lately, and I just thought that Michigan coming in, I told Steven this, that Michigan was going to steamroll Ohio State. And I also told him during the game, I think it was at halftime, right? At halftime?
Yeah.
I told him that Ohio State is so lucky that they are up 3, because Michigan, when they wake up, they are going to steamroll Ohio State, and boy was I wrong, man. Michigan died because Ohio State made 11 threes. They were 11 for 21 from three-point line, 52.4%. Michigan was 7 for 26 for 26%. That's all you need to know about this game. One team shoots 52%, another team shoots 26%. You can't win a basketball game when your opponent beats you in three-point shooting percentage by over 30%. You just can't. And Franz Wagner, man, he's going to be special, I'm telling you, for Michigan. He was really good yesterday, good at shooting the three. He's going to be way better than his brother is in the NBA moving forward. That's my takeaway from this game.
I understand the rationality with the three-point shooting, but as I was saying earlier, you got to remember a lot of the three-pointers that Ohio State made were in that fourth and final period, in the really window of the final 8 to 10 minutes of the game. Before then, it was a very, very competitive game. So while Ohio State banked in a couple of three-point shots and they made a couple of heavily contested threes, some haters might even call it miraculous, this game was very close, and the three-pointers just simply helped them put it out of reach. It's not like they won by 2 points because of all the three-pointers. They won by 15.
Well, but in the end, you can't really. In the end, it was a close game until the end.
A lot of the threes were at the end.
Yeah, a lot of threes.
So
that's why it was like
they
a
still could have won with
margin.
Theoretically, they still could have won without a lot of those threes.
Michigan just couldn't get stops that they needed, and they couldn't make the three. That's what killed them.
All right, Ryan. Any final thoughts?
I just have two takeaways from what Isaiah said. One, you're getting some bad intel about how you thought Ohio State and Michigan would play out. You were saying like how Michigan did really good, had a slump, and then has just played really well.
Mm-hmm.
That also describes Ohio State, but this game was at home where Ohio State has beaten like 4 top 10 teams, had just come off beating Maryland, so your confidence would not have existed if you had known that information, I'm convinced.
Well, what?
Number two, it's just a safe bet to not pick Michigan against Ohio State in football or basketball. I mean, I know basketball is a lot more even between the two, but just why take the risk? Why go all in on Michigan like that, especially with a first-year head coach versus Chris Holtmann, one of the best coaches in college basketball? It was an ill-advised move to be as confident as you were.
Honestly, don't trust Isaiah's confidence towards things. This is the same dude that said he'd rather take a duel of LeBron James and Jason Tatum over LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That's all you need to know, Ryan.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I am not gonna get into that point. I'm gonna wait and go on fan response again on that. But let me tell you though, Juwan Howard, he has a very promising future. I really truly believe that this guy he's going to lead Michigan farther than where John Beilein led them. That's how good of a coach I believe Juwan Howard is gonna be.
All right. Well,
John Beilein led them to 2 national championship games. Howard would have to win one to go further, and you predicted Michigan will win a national championship in, say, the next 4 or 3 to 4 years.
Hey, they could win it this year. I'm telling you right now. I watched them against I watched them against Indiana. That was the game a couple weeks ago. I watched like the first game I've ever watched them play. They were really good. They beat North Carolina. They beat Gonzaga. 2 powerhouses, man.
All right, you can believe that.
All right, let's move on to our next topic.
Rational thoughts.
Let's talk about Cinderella Watch right here. I think we already have an idea of Isaiah's Cinderella Watch.
Yes, sir. Guys, my team for Cinderella Watch is a team that nobody is giving any respect to whatsoever, but you guys should. It's the New Mexico State Aggies.
Ooh, not the Wolverines.
Yeah, not the Wolverines. The New Mexico State Aggies are 24-6. On December 14, they had just lost. They were 6-6. Fast forward to now. The Aggies are 8 They are on an 18-game winning streak, 24-6 in overall play, 15-0 in Western Athletic Conference play. Their head coach, Chris Jantz, in his third season has done a fabulous job with that Aggies team. New Mexico State, great three-point shooter, three-point shooting team, great defensive team. You gotta start taking notice of this team, people. I'm telling you right now, this Aggie team is gonna make a lot of noise come NCAA tournament time.
Ryan, your thoughts?
My only thoughts on that are New Mexico State has been on an impressive run, but that's because they're playing quad 4 teams. They're 16-0 versus quad 4 teams, and that'd be great news if quad 4 teams were the teams they face in the NCAA tournaments. But as it stands right now, their record versus quad 3 teams is 5-4. Their record versus quad 2 teams is 1-1. And their record versus the only quad 1 team, they've only played one quad 1 team, and they lost that game. They haven't shown the ability to beat good teams, of which they will see in the NCAA tournament. And they're like historically known for being everyone's favorite to pull off an upset and then disappointing everyone. So I can't go with them. The team I'm going to pick is Virginia. Now, I'm looking at a CBS article which predicts them being the 10th seed, and that's why I have them as a Cinderella. But if you look at them, they're 4-3 versus quad 1 teams, 7-3 versus quad 2. They're playing really well right now, which is a key component for a Cinderella team, is playing really well going into the tournament. They're on a 6-game win streak as of right now. They're still very well coached. They will always have a great defense that can not stop but give them a chance in any game. So watch out for Virginia. I mean, I know they're the defending national champions, so it's kind of a weird pick to have them as the Cinderella. But if they're a 10 seeds, that would be massively disrespectful given their 21-7 record. So look out for Virginia if they are, in fact, seeded as low as this article I'm looking at predicts.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough affair, this March Madness, because I feel the teams are so much more spread out. As we went over in fan response a couple weeks ago, within the top 10, any of those teams could be got by an Ohio State or a Wisconsin. So that's going to bring me to my Cinderella watch. And before I give mine, Isaiah, it would help me to have some confidence in the New Mexico State Aggies if they played more than just JV high school basketball teams. But as it stands, they're playing a bunch of clowns, and I'm just going to, kind of back what Ryan said.
They almost beat Auburn last year.
There's no telling, like, hey, if Ohio State had New Mexico State's record, maybe they have, like, 2 buzzer-beater losses and then 28 wins or something. So,
but
I mean,
my thing is, you guys still got to give respect to them for what they've done. 15-0 in Western Athletic Conference
against junior varsity athletes.
18-game winning streak, though.
Okay.
December.
I want to move on to my pick, because this could go on forever. I'm going to pick the Wisconsin Badgers. As Ryan and I discussed, as a whole, the Big Ten is right now the strongest conference in terms of college basketball, and this Wisconsin team has a very Frank Kaminsky Wisconsin team feel to it. It's very lengthy, it's very durable, and very tenacious on the offensive and defensive rebounds. I believe that you can win March Madness upsets, and one of the easiest ways to upset teams is by creating extra possessions or limiting extra possessions from the other team. They're going to get it done on the boards, and once they can do that, I can see them upsetting a Duke or a Gonzaga down the line.
Yeah, that's a good pick because they've also been battle-tested. They faced 16 quad 1 teams as opposed to New Mexico's 1, and they're 8-8. So they've shown an ability to beat the best teams, and that's something you want to see in a Cinderella team.
And you got to remember, with March Madness, consistency is not always the key. A lot of times it's better to be lucky or hot than good.
That's true. It also doesn't hurt that they're on a 6-game winning streak right now and playing their best basketball late in the season.
You know those fans will be singing, on Wisconsin, stand up, Badgers, sing. Run the ball right through the line, a score is sure today. But let's
Lord, Steven, you know so many fight songs for so many teams.
Oh man, I really get into it. I could go into it all day, but let's move on to professional basketball, NBA talk. We're going to go over our first round predictions here. Let's keep it, 1 to 2 sentences maximum, rapid fire here. Isaiah, I want to start with...
I have a question. So when we go over our predictions, right, you want us to give like the team who wins and amount of games they win, or just the team who wins?
The score of the series. So if I'm picking Lakers over Grizzlies in a sweep, Lakers 4-0. All right, Isaiah. Lakers Grizzlies 1 versus 8 matchup. Give me a score. Give me a prediction.
I'm going to go the Lakers in 5. I think that the Lakers are going to be up 2-0. They're going to head into Memphis, and it's just going to be like this with all the 1-8 series where when you go onto the road, those fans are hyped up. They're pumped up to try to rally their team to a win, and I just think the Grizzlies are going to take that one game before the Lakers take Game 4 and Game 5 and wrap it up.
Okay. Lakers, Grizzlies, I got the Lakers in a sweep. Very simple. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, enough said. Ryan, Lakers, Grizzlies, your prediction.
I'm going Los Angeles Lakers in 4 games. Grizzlies are a very young team, a very tough team, but in the playoffs, their leader, a rookie, John Morant, will show that he is a rookie, make plenty of mistakes as a learning curve, and the Lakers will steamroll them.
All right, Nuggets, Mavericks. I'll go first on this one. Luka Doncic versus Nikola Jokic is going to be a very, very interesting matchup here. Battle of 2 skilled, up-and-coming European superstars. But I think, once again, as you said about Ja Morant, Doncic is not as raw as him. He's got a lot more experience and one more full season of basketball, but at the same time, he's no Jokic. I think Jokic takes advantage of his size. He takes advantage of the shooting around him. I'm going to take the Nuggets in 6 here in a highly contested series, but I just don't think Doncic is enough to overcome an overall stronger Nuggets team. Isaiah.
I think this is going to be the series of the first round. You have 2 teams who love to play fast, up-tempo. It's going to be so much fun to watch. Luka versus Jokic. Luka trying to establish himself as the next face of the NBA. You know what? I'm going to go with the upset. I think that Luka Doncic with Kristaps Porzingis leads the Mavericks over the Nuggets in 7 games.
All right, Ryan, your prediction.
I agree with Isaiah. This is going to be the series in the first rounds. And if the Dallas Mavericks do play the Denver Nuggets, I have to give it to the Dallas Mavericks.
Whoa!
Now, Kristaps Porzingis needs to play well. He's been up and down this season, but if he can play well, this team has a fantastic shot to win. They are 21-11 on the road, which is one of the better marks in the league. So they have the ability to steal a game or 2 from the Denver Nuggets at home. So give me the Dallas Mavericks in a very close 7-game series. I think Luka is the best player on the floor, and while the Denver Nuggets are a great team, the Dallas Mavericks will pull off the upset. I'm so surprised how a team as good as the Mavericks can be a 7th seed. It
the
really
Western
shows
Conference.
how the number 1 seed.
Yeah, it's the West, dude.
Yeah, the number 1 seed in the West this year is very, very valuable.
Okay, number 6 Thunder versus the number 3 Clippers. Ryan, give me your prediction.
It's going to be the Clippers I'm going to go Clippers in 6. Now, I only say that because the Clippers have shown some cracks recently. They've been arguing about defensive assignments. They haven't played consistently. And I think that'll carry over into the first round of the playoffs. Now, they'll get their act together in the second round and be a championship contender from here on out. But I think this pesky Oklahoma City Thunder team steals a couple games from them and makes it a 6-game series, of which it will never really feel close, but in the end will be a 6-game series for the Clippers.
Give me the Clippers in 5 games. I just think that Chris Paul at this stage of his career, we've seen the winning, we've seen kind of the impact he can put up with his team right now, but he's just not on the same level as the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So I'm going to take the Clippers in 5. Talent wins in the playoffs, period. Isaiah.
Out of all the series in the playoffs, I think this series is the best series in terms of storyline. You've got Paul George, a guy that everybody was shocked when he left OKC, going back to face his former team. You know what? I think you both are wrong. I'm going to go with my guy, Billy Donovan, and the Oklahoma City Thunder in 7 games.
Are you ready to call 911? You got on your dial pad right now?
Hold on, listen to me.
You got to get this guy drug tested.
I've already started calling 911.
Billy Donovan.
Somebody call 911.
Billy Donovan has done a phenomenal job this year as the head coach of Oklahoma City. He should win Coach of the Year easily. I think Chris Paul puts up a Herculean effort, scoring 40-plus points in each of the games there. And I just think the Clippers' lack of chemistry is going to come back to hurt them. So that's why I got the Thunder.
All right, I'm not even going to dignify this one with response. We got to move forward with time here. Number 5 Jazz versus the number 4 Rockets. This one is very, very even, both in terms of seeding and in terms of talent. The Jazz have obviously the advantage in length with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, but I think the Rockets have shown the ability to overcome their shortages in length with a three-point shot, and they're going to live and die by the three. They're going to have games where it's like, what the hell are they shooting? Is this a pick-up basketball game or is this the NBA? And they're going to have games where it's like, there's 5 Steph Currys out there. I think ultimately the Rockets take this one in 7 games. I can see this one playing out very similarly to those old Oklahoma City Thunder, Memphis Grizzlies duels back when the Thunder had Durant and Westbrook and the Grizzlies had Gasol and Randolph. Athleticism versus size. Isaiah.
This is slow pace versus fast pace. Big ball against small ball. I am going to go with the Houston Rockets because they have the home court advantage. Like Steven says, I think this is going to be a really close series. I think that Gobert is going to eat up the Rockets in the middle because you can't put Gobert against Tucker. That's just nonsense.
And how many games?
I'm going to go with the Rockets in 7.
All right, great. Ryan, Rockets, Jazz. How many games?
I'm going Rockets in 7 as well, and I say that because Rockets have home court advantage, and they've beaten the Jazz in the regular season 2 times to 0, I believe. So, given those 2 factors, I'll go Rockets in 7.
All right, let's move on to the Eastern Conference. A little bit less interesting here until we get to one series, which I will cover. Number 8 Nets versus the number 1 Bucks. The Nets recently lost D'Angelo Russell. They lost their glue and gel guy. I know they've been able to slip through an easy Eastern Conference regular season schedule, but let's face it, they have no answer for Giannis. I'm going to be very surprised if they can get a single game within 5 to 10 points here. I got the Bucks in a clean sweep, and Ryan, I'm sure you agree.
Absolutely. Bucks win every game by 15 plus. This is going to be a blowout of epic proportions. Bucks in 4 in a clean sweep. No more needs to be said.
All right, Isaiah.
Don't worry. You don't have to call the cops on me. I'm not picking the Nets. Thank
God. For a second.
This is going to be like the Bucks Pistons series from last year where the Nets players are all going to be begging the Bucks for mercy. The Bucks are going to win each game by at least 20 points. Clean sweep, no Kyrie Irving, no Kevin Durant. If the Nets had Irving and Durant, this would probably be like a 6 or 7 game series, but no Irving, Durant. Bucks clean sweep, win every game by 20.
And we got the Raptors versus the Magic in a rematch of last year. As we all know, the Magic stole Game 1 in Toronto and lost in 5 games eventually. Ryan, what's your outlook on this series?
Very, very, very similar to how it played out last year. I think the Magic will steal one of the first 2 games, but after that, the talent of the Toronto Raptors, even without Kawhi, is still leagues above what the Magic have to offer. So give me
Oh, you
Toronto
don't need to tell
Raptors
me
in
that.
5 games.
Isaiah.
You know what? I'm picking the Raptors, but I think it's going to be a close series than what everybody's talking about. I think that Aaron Gordon, he's going to have a really good series in this series. I'm going to pick the Raptors in 6. I think the Magic win 2 games on their home court. It's going to be a 2-2 heading back to Toronto.
And finally, we have the Sixers, who've dropped down to the 6th seed, surprisingly. So now we have the Sixers and the Celtics. Isaiah, what's your prediction for this series?
This is going to be the best series of the Eastern Conference playoffs. It depends if Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid come back healthy. If they don't come back, the Celtics are going to sweep them. But if Embiid and Simmons are playing, even though the Celtics are they have the more unified team right now, I'm going to pick the 76ers. I think the 76ers upset the Celtics in 7 games. Philly, everybody's talking about their brokenness, stuff like that. Philly has been one of the best teams in the NBA on their own home court. I think they win all 3 games on their own home court. Celtics win all 3 games on their own home court, and it's going to come down to Game 7. It's going to be really close. I just think Embiid, he's going to be the guy that lifts the Sixers over the Celtics.
I got to agree with Isaiah here. In the end of the day, talent wins playoff games. In the regular season, it's proven to not matter as much because players get tired, they get injured, especially when you got loaded management with players like Embiid, Kawhi, and Simmons. Here, the Sixers, they got Embiid and Simmons, 2 load management type guys. They're not going to load manage in the playoffs, and that's going to be the difference. Sixers in 6, no pun intended. Ryan Schriner, I want to hear your take right here.
I'm very disappointed in you two for predicting that the 76ers are going to win. You do realize that their away record this year is 9-22. You know who else has an away record of 9-22?
My clock. It's 9:22 right now.
Knicks. The New York Knicks. They will lose all of their away games by 20-plus points. And they won't even get to Game 7. The Philadelphia 76ers are a soft, loudmouth team that would have no business playing with the Boston Celtics. They'll win their first 2 home games and go into Game 5 2-2. Boston will win Game 5 by 20 points. And the 76ers will break down. They won't know what to do. The pressure will get to them, and they'll lose Game 6 by 5 points. The Boston Celtics will win in 6 games.
Ryan, is it safe
I'm so
to say?
disappointed in you two for saying that.
Ryan, is it safe to say?
Would win.
Is it safe to say that the 76ers are the Browns of the NBA? Loads of talent, but a bunch of trash talk with no substance.
Yes, I would say that is a pretty good analogy or comparison.
All right. But in the NBA, talent matters more, as we all know, because you only got 5 players on each team on the floor at once. So we all know the impact 2 giant tree chunks can have in Simmons and Joel Embiid, which is why I'm going with the Sixers.
Talent doesn't win when the talent just straight up can't play together. You have Embiid and Simmons who can't shoot the 3, and you add Horford, a center who can kind of shoot a 3, but not really. It's just a poorly matched team. They don't fit well together. They're going to lose in 6 games. I would bet a good amount on that.
Okay, well, Ryan, when it comes down to it, me and you are going to do a little bit of a live bet on fan response.
All right, sounds good to me.
All right, let's move on to our next series, the Pacers at number 5 versus the number 4 Heat. Listen, the Pacers have been a great comeback story here. They've been able to claim one of the better playoff spots this season and work really well as a team, even with Victor Oladipo clearly not being at 100%. But at the end of the day, in the playoffs, you need your dependable players to, number 1, be stars, and number 2, to have clear, dependable players. I don't see that in the Pacers enough, and the ones that are dependable for wins aren't going to make enough of a difference in terms of star power during the playoffs. I see the Heat winning this one in 5 games. I see Jimmy Butler giving a 30 to 50% Oladipo, lots of fits on the defensive and offensive end. Overall, I think the Heat maybe lose game 1 or game 2 here, and then just take care of business from there. I see this one playing very similar to the Toronto Raptors Magic series. Isaiah, you look like you agreed a lot here. What do you have to say, and what's your insight on this series?
Listen, Ryan needs to know something. When Andre Iguodala was traded to the Miami Heat at the trade deadline, we did a carpool chats, and I declared that with that trade, with the Iguodala move, the Miami Heat they just won the Eastern Conference. I am sticking by that. The Miami Heat are the best defensive team in the NBA. They just shut down Giannis tonight. 13 points only for Giannis and Antetokounmpo. They're going to shut down Victor Oladipo and Sabonis with Jimmy Butler. Bam! Iguodala and the rest of the crew. Miami takes this one in 5 games.
All right. That'll do it for our NBA coverage right now. Let's do...
hold on.
Oh, Ryan, did I skip you? I'm so sorry.
Okay, forgetting me, Steven. But no, I don't have much to say about this one. Miami is the better team. They're really good at home. They'll win all the home games in this series. They're slightly bad on the road at a 13-18 records due to them being a fairly young team outside of Butler and Iguodala. But regardless, they'll win the first 2 games. Pacers will win the next 2, but then Miami will just show that they're the more talented team with Oladipo still recovering for the Pacers and win this series in 6 games.
So we got Miami in 6, Ryan, Miami in 5, Steven, and Miami in 5, Isaiah. All right.
Yep.
So before we get into our next and final topic, just want a quick title prediction for you guys. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Lakers to win the title. I want this to be real quick. No justification. Just the Lakers as of today. You.
The Lakers over the Miami Heat in 5.
Okay, Ryan, you.
Lakers over Bucks in 7.
I have to agree with that. I will take them in 6. I think the lack of a jumper will come back to bite Giannis in clutch situations. All right, guys. Next thing we're going to cover is... I know we are a sports talk show and we mostly talk sports here, but recently politics has been a big topic, and as we all know, Bernie Sanders is currently the front runner as the Democratic candidate. Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, who have very similar views and voter bases as Joe Biden, have dropped out and rallied their support for Joe Biden. Tomorrow we got Super Tuesday. I just want to ask you guys, number one, how do you see the Democratic nomination playing out? Who do you think wins it? And then number 2, will Donald Trump be defeated? Isaiah.
So after what happened today, ladies and gentlemen, I am here to declare that it's inevitable that Joe Biden will win the Democratic nomination. And not just that, it's inevitable that Joe Biden will be the 47th president of the United States. If you look at all the polls right now, Joe Biden is crushing Donald Trump. His only competitor is Bernie Sanders. Once he gets past Bernie, it's going to be like the Warriors versus the Cavaliers in the 2017 NBA Finals. Easy path to victory.
Ryan, remember, the number is 911. Remember that. That's what we got to call. Okay, Ryan, I want to get your take real quickly. Who wins the Democratic nomination, and do they defeat Trump?
I'm going to go... I haven't paid too much attention to the election cycle as of this moment, but just a gut feeling, I'm going to go Bernie Sanders. He seems to get more public support, like online, and just draws more of a buzz, which in the primaries is especially huge. So give me Bernie. But in the election, I haven't thought about too much, but just going off like statistics and how elections have played out in the past, I'll say Trump wins solely because it's been a long time since we haven't had a president go 8 terms. Barack Obama went 8 terms. George W. Bush had 8 terms. Bill Clinton went for 8 terms.
Yeah, exactly.
It just seems that people will vote for the familiar more so than the unknown. So I'll go Trump win it all just because that seems to be how history has played out recently.
Yeah. First, I'm just going to agree with Ryan here. Trump's going to win. The other part of history that I can add on to here is that generally the incumbent president does very well in times of war and times of economic prosperity. And now everyone's going to bring up the coronavirus and how it's crashing the economy right now. First of all, the Dow Jones bounced back a little today. And the other thing is, if you looked at the pre-2016 Dow Jones numbers and stock market numbers in general as far as the unemployment rate, all of it has been trending towards the right direction under Donald Trump. Unemployment has gone down. The Dow Jones has increased by basically 40 to 80%, I think, since 2016. So, honestly, with the economy doing well and with the war in the Middle East continuing, that is going to favor the incumbent president, Donald Trump. I believe he's going to win the presidency. And as far as who comes out of the Democratic nomination, it's only going to matter in terms of contest and how close the contest is. And Joe Biden, sorry, you're not going to win it. I think it's going to be Bernie Sanders. And the reason is, I know that Klobuchar, Buttigieg, and those guys, they dropped out and supported Biden. But at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders is going to capture a lot of the coastal states. I see him winning Oregon, Washington, California, New York, Vermont by substantial margins, and Massachusetts. And those coastal states tend to have more delegates than the central states. Now, before you bring out the Deep South and the Midwest, I want to say this real quickly. Biden has already been absolutely destroyed in Iowa, Nevada, and New Hampshire. So there's a couple of those middling states that he has already done very poorly in. So just because a couple of guys dropped out and support Biden, and he may have a better shot with the black voters, don't count on that as a way to beat Bernie, because you're not doing so hot in the early states.
I have nothing to add.
All right, guys, that's going to do it here.
I got one more thing, actually. Before we close the show, since this is probably our last episode, not our last, but yeah, our last episode we're going to do before NFL free agency starts, Tom Brady, by the time our next show comes on the air...
Let's keep it quick.
Yeah, Tom Brady will be a Las Vegas Raider.
All right, Ryan, just give me your team, no explanation.
It's New England, no explanation needed.
New England Patriots, guys. Tom Brady is going to stay with the known entity, and he's going to continue to win, because that's what they do. Winners win. All right, guys, this has been Stephen Wang, Isaiah Leung, and Ryan Schriner here at Carpool Chats and Fan Response Merger a little bit. Glad to see you guys tuning in. We're going to be covering a lot more college basketball, a lot more NBA as we get closer to the playoff seasons.
Ohio State won't even make the tournament.
We're going to be enjoying the misery and downfall of Michigan and Georgia so much. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. And Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Well, it's been a pleasure on my end as well. Happy to join anytime.
All right, guys. Good night.
Have a good night.